Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminolly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, all of the above and a bit more, I'm going to talk about my April TBR. So I've got a fair few books to talk about today. Most of them are physical books, which is always better because you get to look at them. And there's a few big books in here as well. So people may have noticed as I kind of got past the halfway point in my 100 book challenge, I started getting a bit strategic and started reading some shorter books and eschewing longer books. But now that I've done that, I can get back into some longer books again. So there's a few things here that have been hanging around for a while I've wanted to read. A few of my normal continuing series will make an appearance, as you would expect. And of course, and let's start with the most important one. So, Watership Down by Richard Adams, which will be the first book in the Birth Year Book Tag favourites read-along. So, if you've seen the videos on that, I created the Birth Year Book Tag a while ago. And through the books that people have chosen as their favourite books from their birth years, I've created a long list and a Goodreads shelf with all of those books on. And I'm going to be reading through them in no particular order, and inviting viewers and other booktubers to join along and do that with me. So the first one we're going to read is Watership Down. There's a good few people going to take part in that. I will be setting up a Discord so that we can discuss it on there, and it is also the Plagued by Visions Vision of the Month for April as well, so you've got two good reasons to read it. So I cannot remember if I've read this or not. I don't think I have, but I certainly am looking forward to it. If I have read it, it was like 30 plus years ago, and I do like this lovely old Penguin edition of it as well. So yeah, very much looking forward to that, both reading the book and also the experience of hosting my first read-along. So in terms of other things, let's go through the continuing series first. So I've got book 6 of the Survivalist series, The Savage Horde, by Jerry Ahern, which I'm sure will be just as good as all the other books in the series so far. So this is, I think, of the series I'm reading at the moment, like the pulpy series I'm reading, this is definitely my favourite. I'm really enjoying those. I've also got the next Executioner book, which is California Hit by Don Pendleton. So I'd be interested to see where in California Mac Bolan ends up. I know there seem to be quite a few people on BookTube from California. So hopefully he's not coming for you, Juan, or who else is from California? Michael K. Vaughn. Next up, another Edge book, so Blood Run. So this is book, what is this in the series? Book 15 in the series, so another nasty western from George G. Gilman. So looking forward to that. And I have to say, it was interesting reading Lonesome Dove recently and comparing it to the Edge books. There are many things, indeed the vast majority of things, Lonesome Dove does better. But there was one thing in particular that I actually think the Edge series does better. I'll talk about that in my review. So also continuing the Gore series with book 8, Hunters of Gore, which has someone on the cover who looks a little bit like Wolverine, or I think it's just some funny hat or helmet that he's wearing. But yes, be interested to see what happens to Tal Cabot next. And then far less pulpy, I have the final book of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Return of the King. So I paused reading this. I was reading one every month, but I paused it for March. Or did I pause it for February? I can't remember. Anyway, I paused it to let me get through the 100 book challenge, because these take a little bit more effort to read. Not because they're difficult to read, but just because they're quite dense, shall we say. So yeah, looking forward to finishing that series. And then on to some books, some bigger books. Right, so let's go with this one next. So The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. So I've heard so many great things about Joe Abercrombie. I have yet to read any of his books. I do have a few of them, including the whole of the First Law trilogy, of which this is the first book. So looking forward to reading this. I have been putting it off because it's like 600 plus pages. But now that I'm no longer bound by the 100 book challenge, I will give that one a try. And then also, let's do another big one. So, I hadn't been intending to read this, The House of Leaves, by, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Mark Danielewski. So it's a book I've obviously heard much about over the years, and I've kind of been thinking about reading it. And I think I looked a while ago into buying a copy, but it's really expensive. And then I was in the library to pick up a different book that I'd reserved, and they had this. So I thought I might as well grab it and give it a try. So if you don't know it, it has a very peculiar kind of style to it, and is, you know, kind of famous for that. So it's got lots of blank pages and all sorts of strange stuff going on. It's supposed to be incredibly complicated and weird. So yeah, looking forward to reading this. Whether I finish it or not is another matter. And then for my worky book club, I have got Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. So that's our pick for April. So yeah, looking forward to this. It does look quite interesting, and also it ticks 2 boxes for me, because just as I'd paused reading the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I also paused doing my countdown challenge where I'm reading books back through the years. So I was supposed to be reading Shuggy Bane, and I started it and couldn't really get into it. So that would have been my 2020 book. Now Piranesi, I don't know how you pronounce it, this came out in 2020 as well, so this is going to become my 2020 book, which brings me on to the only Kindle book I'm intending to read this month, which is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So that will be my 2019 book. So I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo a while ago and really enjoyed that. So looking forward to the Daisy Jones book as well. Next up, another library book. So Gone to the Moon by Stephen Erickson. So I did have a copy of this years ago and never read it, but I've seen so much love for this series on BookTube. So Malazan Book of the Fallen is the series. I thought I'd give it a try. So I've got this copy out of the library, so no money invested. It is a big one, so it's 700 plus pages long, and it's supposed to be really difficult to get into as well, I think. So as with House of Leaves, we will see how I get on with this one. But if I enjoy it, there are a ton more fat fantasy books in the Malazan series that I can enjoy. Next up, I've got a couple of arcs. So just as I've been neglecting bigger books while I do the 100 book challenge, I've also had a few arcs come in that I haven't read. One of the rules I set myself for the 100 book challenge was that I could still accept arcs, but if I read them, they didn't count towards the 100 books, which has meant that I've been less likely to read them, shall we say. Having said that, these 2 books both came in, I think, within the last week or so. So I've got Death of a Bad Neighbour, which is a crime, an independently published crime short story collection, edited by Jack Calverley, who reached out to me and asked me if I'd like a copy of it. So it looks really interesting. So yeah, a bunch of different short crime stories by independent authors from, I don't know if they're all from the UK or if they're from around the world, but it looks like a very interesting collection. So yeah, looking forward to dipping into this and seeing what it's like. And I've also received from the good people at Titan Books Dark Stars, which is edited by John F.D. Taff, which has got a load of great authors in it. So Josh Malerman, Catherine Kepnes, Stephen Graham Jones, Alma Katsu, Ramsey Campbell. So created as an homage to the 1980 classic horror anthology Dark Forces, this collection contains 12 original novelettes showcasing today's top horror talent. So yeah, looking forward to this as well. I may save, so if it looks like some of the stories are going to be ones that might work for Horror Mayhem in May, I may save them for that. But yeah, it looks like a good collection, so looking forward to that. And then the other type of book I have been neglecting is books I've been given by people. So again, as with accepting arcs, I did say I could accept gifts from people, but again, if I read them, they wouldn't count towards the 100 book challenge. So I have got a couple here of books that I've received as gifts during the time I was doing the 100 book challenge. So both of these were from the fantastic Juan at Plagued by Visions. So he sent me, amongst other things, Revenge by Yoko Ogawa, which is a collection of short stories, 11 short stories, and Come Closer by Sara Gran, which I've heard fantastic things about. So really looking forward to both of these. He sent me a couple of other things as well, but I'm saving those for Horror Mayhem, so I'm going to include those in that month because they really fit a couple of the prompts. So yeah, looking forward to these 2 lovely books from Juan. And then finally, Another one that I chanced across in the library when I was picking something up is Jack of Spades by Joyce Carol Oates, which is a suspense novel. Don't know anything about it really, but I saw it on the shelf. I've read two things by her. So I've read an early novel by her called Revenge of the Spider Monkey, which was a hard case crime book, which was quite entertaining. And then I think she also contributed a story to When Things Get Dark, what's her name? It was an anthology of, I'm going to describe it at length until I remember the name of the author. So it was an anthology of short stories, kind of horror and crime short stories, edited by Ellen Datlow, all of which pay homage to Shirley Jackson. I got there in the end. Yeah, the Joyce Carol Oates story, and that was fantastic. So yes, looking forward to this. It's quite a slim one, 200 pages, so looks like quite a good suspense novel. So yeah, that's what I'm planning to read in April. What I would say is, obviously, because I've just come off the 100 book challenge, I'm now able to buy books, and I popped out today just now, and I bought I think 5 books. I've also bought the first of the Happer Leonard books on Kindle, which I'm reading at the moment, so that'll end up being a March book. But yeah, I picked up a few cheap paperbacks in a charity shop today, and I've also got a bunch of things coming in from eBay. So I've got 3 books by James M. Cain coming in, and 7, I think, by Derek Raymond, including all 5 books of the Factory series, which have been heavily recommended by a few people. So it may well be that I start reading one of those and jettison one of these. There's quite a lot of pages here. There's like 5,000 plus pages. Normally my limit for a month is about 5,500. But that said, it being Easter, I have got a little bit of time off work in April, so that may give me a bit more time for reading. So we'll see. But yeah, a nice mix of stuff there. Bit of fantasy, bit of horror, bit of crime, and some weird stuff as well. So we'll see what House of Leaves is like. So yeah, that's my plans for April. Not taking part in any challenges or things like that in April, apart from, of course, the Watership Down read along. So if you haven't expressed an interest in taking part in that already, you can do so either in the comments for this video or in the community post I put up, which you will find with a big picture of the paperback I showed earlier. So yeah, it'd be great to have as many people involved in that as possible. But yeah, aside from that, do let me know what you're planning to read in April. Hope you are all safe and well and reading good stuff, and I will speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.